Okay, I'm calling to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Town of Florence Planning and Zoning Commission. Excuse me, scheduled for the 15th of January, 2015. Mr. O'Gain, you want to call roll for us?
Yes, sir. Vice Chair Puttrick.
Here.
Commissioner Petty.
Present.
Commissioner Pranzo.
Present.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Fenstermaker.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay. If everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay, the next agenda item is the approval or disapproval or discussion of the meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at them? Any questions, any corrections?
I have a comment on page 8 of the minutes. Give me a minute to get there. There, it's page 8. About halfway down, it says Commissioner Pranzo had a tax comment for Mr. Longacre. He was also concerned regarding water being provided by an entity other than town. That's what I asked Mr. Longacre, was if they intended to sell the water company back to the town, and his reply was no. I'd like that to be a little clearer in the minutes.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes dated December 18, 2014.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that's carried. Now let's go on to the election of for a Planning and Zoning Commission chairman. Does anybody have any nominations that they'd
Chair,
like to?
I'm sorry, Vice Chair.
You want to wait until?
If I may, I was going to ask, it'd be up to you if you wish to continue tonight without Commissioner Garcia. However, if you wish to, we have a quorum, you may continue. It's up to you.
I think, in all fairness to her, I think we should delay it till she's here.
Okay.
Let's do that. Good. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So we'll table it to the next meeting?
Yes. Okay. Now we're on to our first item of new business, and what we are going to do is adjourn from the regular meeting. We're going to have a work session.
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, I apologize. We're going to go through the first case, which is 6A. It's the infill incentive plan. And then we're going to do the work session, which is 6B.
Okay.
Is it okay with you?
I think I suggested that. So we'll do that.
Okay.
All right. This is case number PZC 06-15-INF. We have a presentation? We do.
Yes, we do. Vice Chair, Commission, good evening. My name is Gilbert O'Gean. I'm your senior planner. I'll be giving the presentation tonight. As you mentioned, the case number, it's PZC 06-15-INF, the Town Core Infill Incentive Plan request. Kind of excited tonight. This case regards a property that has 2 homes on it. If you look on the map in front of you, it shows you the location. It's off of Willow Street. Currently, the address is 300 South Willow Street. After tonight, we're suggesting a new address, which would be 278 South Willow Street. And as you can see, there are two properties that currently exist on the lot. Tonight's request is for property with parcel number 202070890. And the request is for two existing homes on a single-family residential R16 zoned parcel shall be considered to be a permissible and legal use. Each of the two homes shall be permitted to have their own separate connections for utilities, which includes electricity, water, sewer, etc. And existing nonconformities related to the size and setbacks shall be grandfathered subject to applicable building and fire codes. Some background on this property. These two properties that we're talking about tonight excuse me one second. There we go. This image here shows you the two properties that we're talking about tonight. One's larger than the other one. The property that is here, I believe, was built in 1914. This one, we estimate, was built in the 70s, different material. At one time, they were both used as primary residence. We believe one was a rental. Tonight's request pertains to these two properties on the lot. The property owner is Rodney Rose and Jacqueline Wright, and they acquired these two properties late last year. The site is about 2.9 acres in size, and as I said, it's zoned an R16. The older home, the 1914 home, is about 672 square feet. The second home on the north side of the lot, which was built later, is a lot smaller. Pinal County records say it's a little over a couple hundred feet, approximately. Now, when the owner came to us with this request, he just wants to live in the larger home, and he wants to possibly rent out the second home. Per current codes, that wouldn't be possible today. Fortunately, we have policy guides that would allow this situation to occur. It is called the Infill Incentive Plan District. It was enacted several years ago. Economic Development Coordinator was responsible for it. Tonight, we're requesting to put it in place to allow these two homes to exist on the lot. Current codes don't allow this. The subject lot right now it's too small to be rezoned, because that's the first thing we thought about when we wanted to look at this lot. The lot is also too small to be split, to have two separate lots for each home. So with these issues, right now, if we were to put the current code in place, one house could be lived in, the other one would have to be basically gutted and turned into a garage, or possibly what they call a granny suite. Those are the options he has under the current code. So using this core infill incentive plan would allow him to have both properties on one lot. So tonight, it goes in front of the commission for recommendation, and it goes in front of council for final decision. This is not a public hearing, so we don't have to open it up to the public. We have the owner here tonight if you have any questions. What we did find is the town core incentive plan was lawfully adopted, and a district was created under rules and guidelines established by the state of Arizona. The town core infill plan seeks to help remedy situations within the infill incentive district pertaining to underdeveloped lots, vacant structures, obsolete, inappropriate parcel sizes, and relatively lower investment activity. The subject parcel is within the infill incentive district, and the conditions and circumstances applicable to the parcel support this request. New addresses have been issued for the two homes to correspond to adopting addresses guidelines necessary for improved delivery of public services. Staff has recommended a favorable recommendation on this case. We do have an authorization form from Rodney Rose that did request for us to bring this forward. This is the first time that I've, as a senior planner, have had the opportunity to use this incentive plan, so I'm kind of excited about that. If you have any questions for myself, I'll be happy to answer it. Mark, our director, is here as well. Any questions for me?
I have questions for the applicant.
Okay.
Is he here? Mr. Rhodes, we don't have nameplates. My name's Gary Pranzo. Looking into this property, it's played a pretty good game of musical chairs between Mr. Peck in Orange, California, and one other gentleman, I believe his name is Eddie Taylor, who gave it back to Peck, and then finally you purchased it in December. One of the things that strikes me is that doing the research, the property's been vacant for at least 14 months, maybe longer. So it clearly has gone past the 3-month limit as far as being out of compliance. My question to you is, were you aware when you purchased the property that it was non-compliant?
Actually, well, I asked my realtor that if there was, before I purchased it or actually purchased it or put the offer in, that there was going to be any issues with either one of these residents being able to be either rented out or myself living in one and renting the other one out. Because I also own another home over on Mulberry, and
I have you as owning 4 properties in Florence. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
I have you as owning 4 properties.
Yes, sir.
And where do you live now? Do you live in Florence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have another, including this property, you have another 3 properties that you're probably renting, I would assume?
I have a residence on Mulberry, and I own the Big Quakes Barbecue out on 79, which is leased out. And yes, and then the other one down on 11th and Central, which was also in the package deal of all these 2 residents here. That one's also was in with it.
All right. Getting back to my original question, was it disclosed to you, typically in a real estate deal under the law of Arizona, a seller has to fill out a disclosure form?
Correct.
And typically, any defects or history of the property is included in that form. Were you informed that this property was out of compliance?
No, I wasn't informed that it was out of compliance, no. My inquiry was, before I made an offer on the property, that there was not going to be an issue, which I would have avoided being here today with, if it'd be okay as far as opening them up to residency or rentals.
Well, my research shows that the seller was clearly aware that this property was out of compliance. So you might want to have a conversation with whoever was involved. The next thing is, because you own 4 properties, it's my understanding that you intend to move into one of these properties?
Correct.
So this is going to become your permanent residence?
Correct.
Okay. Let me just check my notes, see if there's anything else that... No, I just have a question for staff. I went through the town court infill incentive plan, and I was looking for something to hang my hat on that says, this is okay. Because I'm not only thinking about Mr. Rhodes, who has money tied up in the property, but I'm also thinking about the people who live around this, their property values. Mr. Rhodes is going to have to sink a lot of money in this to bring it up. And I'd like to feel more comfortable that we're using the town court and infill incentive plan as it was intended to be used.
Sure. Good evening. Member Pranzo, members of the commission. Yes, we've adopted the infill incentive plan a while back, and you know what? We've come close to using it in a few cases. It just hasn't, nobody's ever kind of carried through with the situation. They've changed their mind on something, or we were able to deal with it through another mechanism. But you know, we've done several things in the downtown to try and deal with the situation of non-conformities and lot sizes that are too small or structures that don't meet setbacks, et cetera. So we've adopted the redevelopment plan. We've adopted the DC zoning district in a lot of downtown. We've used some flexible zoning. We have some flexible categories in the general plan. We recently adopted the adaptive reuse policy, which is a little bit more geared towards the vacant lots and the reuse of commercial buildings. And then we also have this tool, which is really the parent to the adaptive reuse policy. And this is kind of an interesting tool. Once we go through the process of proving that we can create it, we have to meet all these mandates. So we had to establish that there was a district within Florence that proportionally compared to other areas in Florence, there was less permit activity. Clearly, there was less permit activity. There was less development activity, of course, related to that. There was more crime in this area. There was more vacant lots. There was more unoccupied housing in this area. So essentially, we met several of the criteria to establish this, and that was done through a process. And now the plan is intact. And really where we believe this is a good case that falls under that is because under the incentive district, within that district, the priority is to do everything we can to try and get undeveloped lots developed and to get nonconformities resolved and to get unoccupied structures occupied. Now this is a drop in the bucket, of course, in the district. We all know that. We're not saying this is this is going to, cure the ills of downtown. But it's a tool that we can use in this case. And if other folks want to come forward and say, you know what, here's this other vacant property here. Yeah, it's probably not conforming at this stage because, as Mr. Pranzo noted, non-conforming statutes apply after 90 days. They get kind of in a bind. We can go through, we can do variances left and right, we can do a change in the zoning in some cases, we could do a PUD zoning, but we really don't want to be in a scenario where we're spot zoning. And the variance scenario is difficult because, as you know, it has to be proven that it's more of a natural hardship. It's not something that was created ultimately by the people that put the homes on the property, which in this case is probably true. It probably wouldn't legally qualify for a traditional variance approach. So we believe that this is really the best tool out there to get both of these homes occupied, and we're hopeful, as Mr. Rhodes has indicated, that he's going to continue to do some rehab on these structures that needed some help, hopefully clean up these properties a little bit, and we believe, again, the intent of the infill district too, is that there is a positive spin-off. So some people can come in and occupy a structure, or some people will go in and change a roof or paint a home or something. Maybe another neighbor or two will do that. So what else can I say about it? I think the root of what we're doing right now is just saying, let these two homes be occupied and let them have separate utilities. That's really the crux of what we're doing. If we don't approve this, then the second structure can remain as a non-conforming structure. It's already there. It just can't have the separate utilities on it. So, when you're renting a unit, though, it's certainly much more practical if you can say, you have your own electric, water, and sewer. So when it comes down to it, that's really the crux of it, is we're saying the second home can have its own utilities so that it can be properly rented. Otherwise, all the utilities would go to the main home, and the renter would just get utilities that way. So, it's not really an overly complicated case. It's just an unusual situation, and this is a good remedy for it. And hope maybe that by seeing that this can be done, we can get some other situations cleaned up over the years.
My concern is that this just isn't a business venture, that it really is going to be your home. By the way, how does Jacqueline Wright fit into this? Okay. On the deed, it's two different names, so I thought you had a partner. One more question for staff. Are there existing certificates of occupancy on these buildings?
Well, at the time these, Member Pranzo, Commissioners, at the time these homes were created, there wasn't a C of O issued, but he is going through the process right now of making sure that any improvements that he does are permitted.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions. One is, can staff supply me with the infill packet so I can get a better idea of it? Number one, the town, according to this, is acting as the agent for the property owner. So we are liable for errors or mistakes? Is that?
We're, members of the commission, we're acting as the applicant, one, because we would like to see this done, and two, because we've never had an application through this process before. And, you know, Mr. Rhodes is just a local property owner, owner of some residential and commercial property, but, you know, he hasn't gone through this kind of application before, and this is the first one for us. So we figured, you know, when we saw this scenario, it just made sense to use this and to be the applicant. There's no liability on our part because all we're doing, again, the crux of this is saying, by approval of this, we're allowing the two homes to be occupied and to have individual utilities. So there is no liability in doing that.
And when the property was sold, there was a title policy issued on it, or no?
Well, members of the commission, you know, we know that Mr. Peck and Mr. Taylor, we recall conversations with them. They were aware of the history of the property. Whether anything transpired with the current owner, or how they handled title, whether there was a title insurance policy for the owner or the buyer, or both, we don't know that, and we don't really, you know, from our perspective, that doesn't really weigh into our decision here. Our thought process is just to get the structures occupied. Vacant structures are just not healthy for the downtown, and ultimately they will just deteriorate even further.
And then, do you have an idea or estimate of how many properties are like that in the downtown core? That could be since this is the first time we're doing it. Is this true on the infill?
Well, members of the commission, as far as having an exact scenario like this, there probably are a dozen or so where there's an accessory structure that might have over time been converted to a livable structure. It might have started off as a garage and then it got converted to livable. You have to remember that in this, you know, I believe, you know, zoning really came into play in the 70s, and a good portion of downtown was built before then. So a lot of the downtown area, you're going to run into nonconformities, and we've addressed that on the business side or the commercial side on Main Street through the DC zoning district, and you know, there's probably been a variance done here or there, or a PUD zoning done here or there. This tool could be utilized a lot, or there could be other mechanisms that apply, but we just have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, and you know, just use whatever happens to be the proper tool for each situation.
Okay, and I like the idea of an infill. Does it apply to commercial businesses downtown?
Yes, members of the commission, both the infill incentive district and then really the child of the infill incentive district is the adaptive reuse policy. Both of those can apply. So we really do have the tools We just need now more people to come into town and use those tools and put some dollars into, investing in land and in properties.
So a commercial business downtown can come to staff and say, I need help, I've been trying to get my business going for 2 years, I have a problem with a exhaust vent for cooking or whatever, and you guys would help them?
Well, there's going to be limitations on what we can do and what we can't do, members of the commission. When it comes to, commercial kitchens, cooking exhaust and things like that, you're really going to get into the Pinal County Health Department, environmental health, and commercial kitchen regulations and so forth. And it's not the intent of either one of these tools, infill or adaptive reuse, to circumvent any safety codes or fire safety codes. So, we've had that discussion a few times in adopting these codes, just to say, you know what, let's be flexible, let's be accommodating, but at the same time, let's appreciate that, we don't want to cut corners when it comes to public safety, and, namely in these older buildings, electrical systems and things like that are something we have to be cautious of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything, Jim? I just had a couple of quick questions. The smaller building is a stick-built, it's not a prefab or a trailer?
Yes, I believe the smaller one is the stick-built.
Okay. And regarding setback, it looks like it's right on the property line. How does the neighbor feel about this to the north?
Well, all those homes on that street, so and you can see where on the one where that's closer to the property line, there is a buffer, so at least that home is set back further. But these homes have been this way for 40, 50 years and beyond. So, that's the other reason why we kind of like this tool, because, you know what, the situation's been out there for a long time. Let's just try and get these homes legally occupied.
Well, yeah, I agree too. We've spent a lot of time trying to clean up sins of the past, and I think we're doing a fairly good job. It's a slow process, but golly, it's
Yes.
the way things are right now. Who knows? Okay.
I believe the property owner had one more thing that he
Oh,
wanted to say.
please.
Just to elaborate on it, it's back to the next door property owner, as how he feels about it, and that is my best friend and also business partner since 5th grade. We also both own the laundromat together, and he's more than happy that somebody obviously is there now, because when they were vacant, there was a lot of people that were just breaking into the place. There's moving in and living in there basically for free with no power and stuff. So he is ecstatic that I'm there, and that's Jim Cox, which is also owns quite a few businesses also. And just to go on about, you were wondering, I'm not here just as flip properties per se. I grew up in this town. I graduated here in '81. My mom lives here, my brother, my son. I'm come back here to get invested, and this property, the one at 300, is 1914, which is historical, which is my intention is to get it all fixed up and try to get back on the historical tour also. So I've been traveling the world as an aeronautical engineer, so I come back and want to get invested in the town. And
Oh, interesting. We have maybe a little bit of a common background too. So I spent my life in airplanes. So. Okay, thank you. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we forward a favorable recommendation, thank you, to the town council regarding PZC-06-15-INF.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second to forward a favorable recommendation to town council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Done and done. Okay, we are
Thank you.
going to, I'm not sure adjourn is the correct term, but we're going to temporarily adjourn work session.
And if we could get all the commissioners, Vice Chair, bring you down to these tables here in front of us. We have microphones for you for the work session. This is a presentation, open discussion, and we're going to have Dan Bono from Pulte lead us in the work session. Vice Chair, Commission, thank you for having a seat for us. There's been some questions in the past regarding some of our cases that have come in front of you, and it's regarding different issues, and some have been related to Pulte. So we're taking this opportunity tonight to open this work session, give you the opportunity for the Dan Bono, who is Director of Entitlements for Pulte, to address you, to give you kind of a background of the Pulte, or I'm sorry, to give you background on the Anthem and Merrill Ranch community as far as roadways, circulation, the product, because after this work session, we're going to go into a design review regarding some new product that's coming from Pulte, and also a new plat, a pre-plat, that'll eventually go to final plat. So I'm going to have Mr. Bono come up and take it from here. And keep in mind that this is open, so you may ask questions regarding anything with the Pulte Anthem community.
Thanks, Gilbert. Vice Chairman, members of the Commission, Dan Bono with Pulte Homes. Thank you very much for allowing me to present the Anthem Merrill Ranch community, the project I've been intimately involved with for the last 10 years. So I apologize for missing the December hearing when the Unit 36 pre-plat came before you. I was detained unexpectedly, but again, I'm here to make a presentation on the Anthem Merrill Ranch community. Can we put the, just so I've got it back? So what you see in front of you is our latest version of our lotting. This plan that you see in front of you is evolved basically from 2003, 2004. We ultimately closed on the project in 2005. It's been a dynamic document exhibit that you see as we keep making modifications and changes, but for the most part it has remained the same from the layout that we've got, from the infrastructure with Hunt Highway, Felix Road, Merrill Ranch Parkway. Access within the subdivisions has been pretty well laid out and remained the same since we began. Little background on Anthem Merrill Ranch. We started out at 3,200 acres. I say started out because, as you can see, I guess it's a teal units 55, 57, 59, and the adjacent 53. Pulte Homes acquired that in a transaction with Southwest Value Partners in November of last year. What we did is we traded that land, we acquired it. Southwest Value Partners picked up call it the northwest corner of the property. Those lots up on the west side of Hunt Highway were transferred over to Southwest Value. It allows us to bring in another developer, hopefully bring in another builder to drive more traffic down here. All those lots are within the Anthem at Merrill Ranch community. Yeah, I know.
Well, they can just turn and look at it.
Okay. It adds about 800 lots to the Anthem at Merrill Ranch Parkside community. So, and again, Southwest Value Partners controls that. We control additional land that was owned at one point by Harrison Merrill. Southwest Value Partners bought it out of bankruptcy, and now Pulte Homes does control it. Okay, so if you can see up there where the red dot is, that is our Unit 53. That is the preliminary plat that is on the agenda later tonight. While it's within Anthem at Merrill Ranch, it is within the Merrill Ranch PUD. It's just the way the zoning was set up on the Merrill Ranch PUD was set up before the Anthem Merrill Ranch PUD was set up. And because that property fell within the Merrill Ranch PUD, a little bit different zoning designations, but for the most part, we tried to keep the same standards in these, not only this unit and the 4 other units that we've got, but the balance of Anthem and Merrill Ranch. At the time we went through this process and working on the lotting, the layout and everything, we did do a traffic impact study that was done. It's primarily to look at the signalized intersections that will be needed currently and in the future. We only have, and I'll say we have 1 traffic signal currently on project. The hospital did put another one. When the hospital went in, that essentially changed our traffic impact study because that was supposed to be residential, and that residential wasn't planned to exit out onto Hunt Highway. The hospital obviously needed more access for people to get in and out, and that warranted a traffic signal at that location. But the traffic impact study does identify the other traffic signals. The one I did mention that Pulte currently installed is the one at Hunt Highway and Merrill Ranch Parkway in front of the Safeway Center. Other intersections throughout the community that will warrant a traffic signal at some point would be the Merrill Ranch Parkway and Felix intersection, the Felix Road, Hunt Highway intersections, and then there's a few others within the community. But the main intersections with the arterial roads, and Anthem at Merrill Ranch has 3 arterial roads: Hunt Highway, Felix Road, and Merrill Ranch Parkway. The other roads are either local within the subdivision itself, or they are collector roads. American Way, Constitution, American, the new named Spirit Loop, Sun City Boulevard, those are all collector roads. Let's see. Also, just to kind of give you a history of where we're at right now. At the end of 2014, we closed our 2,150th home. So we're out of a community that currently has a little over 9,000 lots. We have just under 2,200 that are closed. Still working on development for the balance of it. Unit 36, which is the preliminary plat that you saw in December, that one we started development. That's our next Sun City unit. And then Unit 53, that's in our Parkside, that's on the agenda tonight, is our next one that's in Parkside. So we're going to continue to develop out. We, for the most part, started within the community core. So in Sun City, right around, well, on both communities, around the rec centers, we started there and started building out from that point. It's one of the reasons we liked the property that we acquired from Southwest Value Partners, because it is right next to our community park. We liked having the proximity. It also didn't quite make sense for us to build and put such an expensive amenity like that community park, and you'd have commercial just south of it. So it allows us to build more residential around the park, obviously get families using the park, and then within the park footprint is the Anthem Elementary School that opened in, I believe, 2006. So, you know, I know it's a brief 5-minute overview of the Anthem community, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Like I said, I've been out here for a while, so hopefully I've got the knowledge of what you're looking for.
Okay, maybe I missed it. The 3
Yes, sir.
green areas here.
Could you speak into the mic, please, so we can hear you for the record?
Chairman.
Hi, Larry Patrick, Vice Chairman. These 3, Dan, these 3 areas here, Unit 57, 58, 59, are those Pulte?
Those are now all owned by Pulte, yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
And then as part of that transaction, so those 3 parcels that you're looking at and the adjacent 53, that area was the 225 acres that Pulte took down in November of last year.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we were contemplating which way we wanted to go from a development standpoint. We're in all the units through Unit 9. The areas that we had in the options we had were Units 3, 5, 7, which is up at the intersection of Merrill Ranch Parkway and Felix Road, where the church site, the Mosaic Church site, is located. Mm-hmm. We still own all of that around there, but we like the idea of kind of building out around the park, so that's what you're seeing with Unit 53. To further talk about Unit 53 and tie it into another case that you're hearing tonight, Unit 53 has a different lot size. Right now in Parkside, we have 2 series. It's our 4,000 and 5,000 series homes that are built on 50-foot and 60-foot wide product. The product that we've got coming forward tonight is a 3,500 series. It will be built on a 45-foot wide lot. If you noticed on the 53 preliminary plat, there were smaller lot sizes than product that we have. They do coincide, so the pre-plat that's coming forward and the design review case that's before you, those are both set up to be, that's where our product will be going. We will be putting in 2 new models in our Unit 15 Parkside Model Park, and it's possible that we could be building some of those lots in Unit 9. Just from a timing standpoint, Unit 53 may not be paved out and ready to have homes built on, while Unit 9 is completely paved out. So depending on the timing, well, hopefully that answers your question, Vice Chair.
Did you have a question?
I do. Gary Pranzo. I have a question. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name when you said it.
Yes, sir. Dan Bono.
Dan?
It's like Sunny, but with a W at the end, so.
B-O-N-O-W, Bono.
Just like Sonny Bono. So.
Oh, okay. Another Goomba. I'd like to ask you a question, then I'd like to hear staff's response to it.
Yes, sir.
Your PUD was originally presented in 2005, and then it was amended in 2008. So it really hasn't had any work done to it, 6, probably going on 7 years. Now, just to set the table a little bit, I know the town of Florence has, in terms of sophistication, has evolved immensely in those 7 years. I'm here 12 years, and it's unbelievable how much this town has changed in 12 years as far as moving forward. So the question is, what you're presenting tonight and what you foresee coming in the future, is your PUD limiting your ability to use thinking and design that you've discovered works better in these last 6 or 7 years?
You know, it's an interesting question, and I think right now our PUD is accurate for what we want. The hard part, obviously, is we've got a document for today, and in 5 years, the flavor of the day may be multifamily, maybe Z product.
I understand completely.
But to answer your question, Chairman, or I'm sorry, Commissioner, I think it is. It's set up well for what we're doing right now. Obviously, those unforeseen, whatever the market may hold, could want us to change it, just like we did with the Merrill Ranch PUD. We didn't foresee acquiring this property, and so we went in and made the change to the Merrill Ranch PUD, which is, again, a modification to a PUD. It wasn't necessarily the Merrill Ranch PUD, but we did make some changes in 2011, 2012, somewhere along that time frame.
I'm just trying to get comfortable with these projects that are 10, 15, 20, 25-year build-outs, that these documents don't become stale. That they're, when you read them, you know they're subjective. They're not technical documents, but still.
No, and Commissioner, we meet with, Pulte Homes meets with town staff on a monthly basis just to go through issues like this, as we, if there's anything that the town sees that doesn't necessarily conform, we can go through it and see if we need to make a modification to the document. But fortunately, so far, that the document that, like you referenced, that's been only modified once its origination, has pretty much held the test of time, at least to date.
And is the staff feel the same way, that the document's not holding us back?
Members of the commission, for what Pulte Homes does with an Anthem type of development, Sun City type of development, the zoning is perfectly fine. When we found that we needed to deviate we changed some of the commercial parcels to accommodate the Safeway and some of the other corners there at Merrill Ranch and Hunt. We changed the corners up there where the hospital is and the future medical office buildings. We changed we never knew a charter school was going to come in at that location on the west side of Hunt Highway. We modified the plan for that. Of course, we had the town facilities parcel all along, and we just were able to get our fire station built on that. And then on several of the plats, as their product development or their sales folks have said, you know what, we need bigger lots or we need smaller lots. We've gone through and done several subdivisions over the years to respond to those changes. And you know what? They've had a lot of product approved through the DR process. So they're constantly thinking about what they need to build and what they need to get through the process. It's gone through DR, it's gone through standard plan approval, permitting, and so forth. So you know, I don't really think so far we've encountered. It's still, for the most part, it's an Anthem community. So the bulk of it, you know, whether it's Anthem here, Anthem somewhere else, or Sun City, it's really traditionally a single-family detached community with some notable areas for parks, commercial. You know, I think as Mr. Bono said, I think we may find that maybe the market changes a little bit and says, you know what, more people want to live in a group setting that might be condos or townhomes or attached homes. Robeson Ranch is doing pretty well with their attached home product down there in the Eloy area. Maybe that's something that might be attractive on the Sun City side. On the park side, particularly on the west side of Hunt Highway, those are smaller lots. Maybe we would, maybe there's some good locations there around the church or the school or around the wastewater treatment facility, for instance, for some multifamily product, some rental product. So I think in the coming years we'll see some need to come through and modify the PUD, but I think really for the most part it's working very well for the type of community that they're doing here.
That's what I'm looking for. As long as there's not a tug of war going on and the document is actually working for both of us, then I'm happy.
Okay.
Now, fortunately, we have, like you see, plenty of land. We're going to be here a while, so I think we've worked well with the staff to try and adapt as things come up. Like Mark said, the hospital was not contemplated. The charter school was not contemplated. The commercial on the balance of the corner, we added some additional. So there's been several things that have come up that, you know, we didn't anticipate.
Well,
it's a
that's
good
just
problem to
right.
have, because obviously to add those amenities to the town of Florence is very beneficial to everyone.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun when we get to the east side of Felix Road, and you can see there's more white over there. We just have a little bit more fun with the topography in that area, and I think that in itself is going to call for us to be a little bit more creative with the lotting design, the subdivision design, and maybe even, you know, the topography is interesting. It's a little more scenic. Maybe at that time too, we can get some move-up product, because you know, initially when you build a community, you're the first one out there. You do a lot of on the park side. There's a lot of, you know, entry and first, and then maybe first move up kind of product. But I think down the road there may be an opportunity to get that third and fourth move up, some, you know, more estate-like housing. So I think we'll have fun when we reach that point, when you've got that many housing units built, and we can finally get to the point of crossing Felix, which right now is largely limited just by the development of the infrastructure needed to get there. But we'll get there. We'll have fun with that.
Yeah,
Hopefully we'll get there soon.
This morning at the County Commission, we talked about an agenda item for the upcoming joint work session with the Board of Directors and the Commission. And one of them is housing and the type of housing, and we need to look at zoning and for these tiny homes that seem to be the big deal now for younger people who can't afford a big house, and they're buying these 600 square foot houses. So we're gonna look at that on the county level. The other aspect of how things are going on the county level, we do an awful lot of plat extensions. We did one this morning for Saddlebrook, and Saddlebrook is kind of slow. The county is kind of slow, but it looks to me like there's a lot of growth going on just up the road here, not too far. And I think when we get on highway widened, it's going to make a big difference. Has anybody participated in the telephone survey yet about the north-south freeway? Telephone survey.
Commission Vice Chair,
We're talking about,
the focus of the work session is to be on the poultry products, and the anthem. So if we could stick to that.
this will impact eventually. So those are just positive things to look at. So I'm glad to see that the strip on the west side of Hunt Highway is back in your purview. And you're looking for a new builder?
But, and anything you see in white there on the west side is now owned by Southwest Value Partners. They are actively...
Still is? Okay.
Yeah. So we had sold the southwest portion, or those lots in there, to Southwest Value Partners, I think the end of 2009. And then the stuff on the northwest was then part of this transaction that we had at the end of last year.
But on those lots on the west side, so it's still Anthem at Merrill Ranch. It's still covered under their covenants, HOA and so forth. And it could theoretically still be Pulte Homes or Centex Homes, which is a division of the company that built there, or it could be another home builder. So it's still going to be uniform, which is the nice thing. It's all one master plan community.
Okay, and then
Vice Chair,
we had a lengthy discussion at the last meeting about egress out of Sun City.
Yes, sir.
There's only one way out. And I see the only other point will be when Sun City Boulevard comes around the golf course on the north end. So there's no alternative in the short term for...
Well, and to play off that, Vice Chairman, we are currently in development of the concrete arch to span the wash on the Spirit Loop on the north side and the eastern wash. Once that gets built, the arch is supposed to be complete middle of February, so around middle of April we should have that paved. That will allow a loop, and it will not be the full loop that you see there, but you will be able to come in off the north, come down through Unit 22A and B, and get back onto the south. It's not the desired, and it's not obviously not what we ultimately planned, but it will provide another way of getting around that. And it does somewhat exist because, and then again, it's a cut through, but as you come in on the north, you can cut through 16, 18 to get to the southern part of Spirit. Again, not desired because it's a roundabout way and it is going through a residential neighborhood. But as we get into Unit 36, that will have one access point that will be paved as part of the development and agreement with the Town of Florence Fire Department. The second point will be an all-weather access road to allow them into that northern entrance. And then when we go into develop into Unit 32, the balance of Spirit Loop will be completed. So the entire thing should be paved out in 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Anybody else have any?
Yes, my name is Bruce Finstermaker, and so the build-out's going to be 9,000 units?
Yeah, and apologize because the number you see in front of you on that table is our latest lotting. That does include, you can see there's a number where it's up in that upper right-hand corner. We did do a breakout of Parkside lots. Pulte, we included what would be with the Southwest Value lots, which are on the west side of Hunt Highway. So you can see at the bottom, and I apologize because my eyes are not very good, so I can't see what we've got there. About 9,300, if I remember right.
Correct.
Yeah, so 9,300.
That's a number, Dan, though, that it just keeps changing because we're zoned for 11,000 something lots. So I mean, they could go up to 11,000 and change, but just not to exceed. I believe the maximum density on the Anthem at Merrill Ranch was 3.5 units to the acre.
Yeah.
So 3.5 units to the acre on the residential side and 11,000 something lots. But they've been building at lower densities so far. That's what the market has called them to do, and they've got a lot of open space in there. So the density is a little lower, and the unit count is a little lower.
Also, in reference to the egress and ingress, 2 years that this loop will be completed. So during that 2-year period, we're iffy on if there's a problem up here like there was in Parkside this last week. I got a message saying there was a gas leak.
I got the same email, and then unfortunately I didn't.
And all of a sudden, I go back to Frisco, where they had a pipeline that blew up, and I was trying to find where our Southwest Gas goes through here, or if they're just along Hunt Highway here. But
I'll say it offhand, I can't remember where, I think the main line from Southwest Gas comes in from the north to feed the community. There was an El Paso gas, natural gas easement that was existing around the southeast corner of the site that was since abandoned because El Paso didn't have the facilities in there, and we were trying to lot over it, so.
in the sign-off that I noticed on tonight's presentation by the fire department was for the park side. Has there been a recent review again on Sun City side on fire and safety, and because this is all flowing from what you're saying? Is it from originally 11,172 lots, it's now down to 9 and change, and lot sizes are changing as it is. Has there been any kind of an upgrade?
We actually have, in our development meeting, we've, up until just recently, we were having it bi-monthly, but we found that sometimes once a month is adequate. But that's when we get together, we have building safety planning, fire department, and engineering all together, and we're addressing all these issues all the time. So whenever they think about doing the next subdivision, we're trying to address these issues of ingress and egress and fire safety. Fire is always heavily involved in what they're doing out there, making sure there's adequate ingress and egress. And a lot of times they've been, putting in emergency turnarounds or creating special routes for the fire department to get in and out. So we're all heavily involved. It does, project like this with this build out, and of course the recession is making it even longer than we all anticipated. But we have to kind of stay on top of it. It's just ongoing.
Because going to an attachment here from the Florence Fire Department, it says all residential developments are required to providing at least 2 separate and distinct access points required per IFC 2006 IFC Appendix D. And that it's not up here.
There is a simple solution. Pave Franklin Road to Sun City Boulevard.
Or, I was over at the hospital, on the north side of the hospital, there's a aggregated, or
That's Franklin Road.
from the hospital itself, there's a fire lane that runs north from the north parking lot, and it's decomposed granite, and then it ties into Franklin.
Right.
That goes out to the police firing range.
Mm-hmm.
Is there?
We do have an emergency construction access and an emergency access there, but we don't actually have right of way to build a road, because north of the Franklin Road, as soon as you get beyond the hospital, you run into BLM land on the north. In fact, that's where the shooting range is, and we don't have right of way to actually build more an adequate road. So all we have is a 20-foot the gravel roadway that's there. It's for construction, and if fire wanted to use it for ingress and egress, they can use it.
Commissioners, if I may, in those same discussions that we've had with Town of Florence Fire Department, we are planning an emergency access along Franklin to access the community. We do not intend to pave Franklin, because we do not want the traffic coming in off of Hunt Highway along Franklin to tie into the community. If you kind of notice, one of the things that is, I don't know if it's necessarily unique to Anthem, but we've tried to keep traffic within Anthem. If the people that are in there are the residents and the people that are going to Anthem, people that are passing through would just be going on Hunt Highway or Felix to get from the northwest to the southeast, or vice versa. So the Spirit Loop, like we've got it, it's intended to just access the units within there. The units that front up against our arterial roads, we've tried not to put access points in there, because we do not want people to come in from the outside. We want to make them come into the community first, and be within it, rather than, fractured coming in on different points on the
I
outside.
agree. And then, I like the idea of crash gates. On a previous planning and zoning meeting, they were talking about crash gates and the fire chief, and the way it's going to be a single lock and no problem about actually running over the gate or cutting. And it actually, that's what you're talking about up here, that there'd be if it is going to be a decomposed granite road, it's going to have a crash gate there, and everybody would be happy.
Commissioner, and we're looking to do that on both sides, not only on the, coming in off Hunt Highway on Franklin Road, but coming in off of Sun City Boulevard. Right now, we've tried to block it off as best we can, but we do realize that we've got construction traffic running through there, during the business hours, Monday through Friday. But ultimately, in this build-out, there will be and whether it's a crash gate or something with a Knox lock, something that'll prevent anybody from just driving through there, but it allows fire department to get through there in an emergency.
Okay, and then the last thing I'd like to ask you about is your advertising trailers.
Okay?
Are they going to be there for another 5 to 7 to 10 years?
I would say that's our plan, because we're just trying to obviously drive the traffic. We're getting it down there. We're trying to make an announcement. We've got the billboard up. We do have the 2 semi-trailers there for signage, and it would be our intent to keep them there.
There is a court case that went to the Supreme Court in regards to Gilbert. A small church claimed that the town discriminated against them because they could not put a directional sign up as long as election signs were. The church signs were relegated to a smaller size, and with Pulte's trailers out there, number one, it's a trailer, and according to the development code, you're not supposed to have those. And you're not supposed to have a sign stuck in the ground that shows a loop for a directional thing. What I'm looking at is anybody could wish somebody a happy birthday, and I could stick a semi-trailer in the field there, like there's another one stuck on the southwest corner of Attaway and Hunt Highway in that field. And it doesn't belong to you, but it's I could put whatever I want on there and say it's freedom of speech. And looking at staff is looking forward. We don't need to get sued. And that's what it looks like, that the church is going to win in Gilbert. Supreme Court will have their answer in come June, and they're going to say, you know what, my little church is going to deserve the same 1,300 square foot sign, and it's going to be on a semi-trailer because I could buy that for $1,500 and change, and I can have it delivered for $150. So it's something that maybe you or our staff could start looking at, or contacting Gilbert and see what's going on, because a lot of the communities in Arizona here are now looking at a major problem with, it's not really free speech, it's what it looks like. I live in Anthem, so we're not allowed to have multiple pink flamingos on our front lawn for a reason. And so the same thing with these semis and stuff. I like that sign you have north up near the church on the west side of Hunt. Now that's nice.
No, Commissioner, if I may, as we meet with the town staff, we could definitely take a look at that. And as your board vice president, I fully support not having the pink flamingos in the front yard. So.
Yeah, my daughter loves pink flamingos. And she lives up in Washington, and it rains all the time. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners. Is there anything else I can, again, I appreciate the time you let me to present this project to you.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah, how about we do 6C and D together. Well, 6B as C and D.
You'd like to do items 6C and 6D together, the presentation? Is that what you're asking?
We did the two cases.
Yes.
So let's,
Yeah, Vice Chair, we've concluded the work session that Pulte did for us. And the next two items, we have some housing product for Anthem at Merrill Ranch, and then also we have a preliminary plat.
that's right.
And
I'm sorry.
by all means, we'd be happy to discuss them together. We'll just have to have a separate vote on
Yeah,
each of them. So we can go ahead and marry the discussion of these two, and then just vote separately on items
yeah, that'll be
6D
fine.
and D.
That'll work good. Save a little time.
Great, thank you.
Would you like me to go?
Yes.
Vice Chair,
I'll
Commissioners.
reconvene the meeting. There you go.
I didn't know if you wanted to announce the case. Before you is the Anthem at Merrill Ranch 3500 series. It's case BZC-08-15-DR. Here we have a presentation for your guys' approval or disapproval. This is a design review by Pulte Group. The last design review that they have brought to the town was back in 2011. It was for some new product that they were going to infuse into the Sun City and the Parkside community. This specific product is going to be going, as Mr. Bono was talking about, into a few units that are around the Parkside and specifically into Unit 53, which I'll be discussing next. There's a lengthy picture presentation. I'm going to go through it really quick. But within your packet, we've provided a lot of the designs. There's three distinct elevations and 6 different housing options. So 3 of those are single-family homes, single-story homes, and the other 3 are 2-story homes. This new product that they are bringing before you is to react to the changing housing market by providing more affordable options to the home buyers. They already have that 4,500, 4,600, which is a larger product. This product is going to go on a smaller lot size, which is a little more narrow and 45-foot wide product. It's still going to have. Staff has reviewed this and looked through the design guidelines for the Anthem within the Anthem PUD and found that it's very similar to and meets the standards that are set within the PUD for design elements and for elevations. So they give us multiple colors, they give us different options of stone, roofing styles and colors, windows, pop-outs, garage, lighting, doors. It goes from all of those little those different types of elevations that are distinct in here. And these elevations are the Spanish, is it Italianate? And Desert Prairie, which actually is pretty much the design theme of what is Anthem, is more of that Desert Prairie. There's a lot of this stuff mixed within. These homes, I'm just going to start just kind of clicking through if you want to look at them. There's going to be different styles, even though they're similar floor plans for each model number here with the elevation. You can see it at the bottom right corner, elevation A, B, and C. These new homes will range from 1,400 square feet to 2,400 square feet. And one of the things we did notice is that they're going to give us, they're going to be varied roof lines, similar to the things that are within there, mixed garage door styles, and standard covered patios. There's a lot of product out there that they're not offering some of these type of design options. We also, within our elevation analysis, we wanted to make sure that no two home that looks the same, colors and everything is right next to each other. So we put these different analysis and making sure that there's also windows, multiple windows on a corner. The applicant has been very helpful and accommodating when staff has had questions to look at these different elevations. So right here, I'm going to show you one of those things. When we first got this in, they only had maybe one window on one side. They did actually update. You look at, when staff evaluates the stuff, we look at the floor plan and see what is it, if you put in more windows, what is it going to do to the floor plan, the layouts, and for the end user who is the home buyer. And started looking at what are the window options. So that's just some of the things that went with it into this analysis. So that's the last one. Basically, the staff's findings were that this series conforms to the design guidelines with the Anthem at Merrill Ranch PUD, the architectural design guidelines. The applicant has provided a variety of elevations and product selections, and the proposed product conforms with multiple plats and lot sizes. The HOA has been established into the areas to maintain all common areas, so these are going in within the Anthem and the Merrill Ranch area. Staff recommends approval for PZC-08-15 DR. Staff is here for any questions. Also, the applicant is present if you have any questions about this product. Actually, do we want to move to the next one? I apologize. We can have the answer to those questions next. The last item is Unit 53. This actually case, two of our commissioners were here the last time this case was here. It was case PCC-0413 preliminary plat. It actually was approved, and they were actually preparing this last summer for a final plat, but decided to pull it back and do a few adjustments. The plat beforehand had 169 lots. The new preliminary plat that they're proposing, it has 172 single-family lots. And the reason why there's 3 lots that has increased into this area is because of this new product that we just presented to you, the 3500 series. So they wanted to put this product into this unit, which is right before you. This unit is just south of the Anthem at Merrill Ranch Park. But this unit also has, it's going to have a variety of lot sizes and housing types. It's not just that those smaller homes. The typical lot varies the 45-foot wide and also to the 65-foot wide lots. The lot sizes will range between just over 5,000 square feet and to 16,000, and all the way up to 16,000 square feet due to cul-de-sacs and where it's located. The unique thing about this plat is going to have 3 points of access, ingress and egress. You're going to have, if you look right up here, you have American Way, which is going to be the northern portion right here. And the eastern side is where Constitution is going to be extended down another collector road, and where the Unit 53 will be able to access off of that road. And as future units are built out and infrastructure is extended, the south exit point will be going into another area. So this lot actually exceeds the PUD, which asks for each unit to have 2 points of ingress egress. There's going to be just over 8 acres of open space, and also conforms to the zoning within the Merrill Ranch PUD. Staff also recommends approval of this preliminary plat. Any questions? The applicant is here.
I've got one question for the applicant.
Commission?
Oh, sorry, yeah, one question for the
Which
applicant.
case are we? Are we talking about the design review or?
Both of them,
Both, okay.
yeah, if that's all right.
Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Dustin Moyer. I'm in charge of product development for Pulte Homes.
All right. In the design review, there's 6 staff recommendations, and the preliminary plat, there's 6 staff recommendations. I just want to make sure you guys saw them and agreed with them, and everything's good.
Yeah, I've reviewed those for the design review portion, and I'm in agreement. We can attain that.
Dan Bono with Pulte Homes. I've read the preliminary plat stipulations and are in agreement.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, with that, then I guess we can go ahead and I'll ask for a motion on case number PZC 08-15-DR.
I'll make a motion that we approve design review for case PZC-08-15-DR with the following, or the 6 staff recommendations.
Have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case number PZC-08-15, 15-DR. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, please show that that's approved. And now I'll take a motion on case number PZC-03-15-PP.
I'll make a motion that we approve case PZC-03-15-PP along with the 6 staff recommendations.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, please show that we approved PZC-03-15-PP. Okay, moving on to item number 7, call to the public and to the commission, for comments about the commissioners or questions, and seeking commissioners' response. Do we have anybody who wants to address the commission? Okay, I'm going to close the call to the public. I'm going to open a call to the commission.
I have nothing.
I'd just like to say that Mr. Costa, sitting at home with bated breath watching this tonight, I hope he's feeling better.
Yes.
And I would like to thank the town council for appointing me to the commission, and I feel very proud sitting here among my fellow peers, both on the dais here and the staff and the audience.
Give us time, we'll change that.
Okay, and I just had a comment, if you would pass on our speedy recovery wishes to Mr. Costa. And I think the only other thing I had is kind of off the wall, but for anybody that's interested, Mount Athos is celebrating their 10th anniversary in operation Saturday, and Peter's doing a special plate dinner from 3 to 9, and he welcomes everybody. And other than that, I'm prepared to adjourn. So adjourned.